All right, legal analyst Mpumelelo Zikalala joining us now to talk us through some of the issues raised in court today. Thank you very much. So, Jacob Zuma has been accused of using Stalingrad tactics to basically use every legal challenge or avenue at his disposal to try and avoid getting to the substance of the matter or the merits of the case. Is this move against Billy Downer, the state prosecutor, another one of those? Or do you think there is a good argument here, firstly?
Good evening to you. One would argue that maybe he's using all the legal instruments that he has at his disposal. It is, after all, his constitutional right in which, if there's a legal instrument that he can use, he's well aware and free to do so. So you may see this one as a stance of saying, I want to make sure that the person who's going to prosecute me is a person who has proper conduct, whose conduct is in line with the National Prosecuting Act and the Code of Conduct that applies to prosecutors. But most importantly, I want to protect my right as per Section 35 of the Constitution. But most importantly, let's focus on the relief that he's seeking, which is two parts. The first is that he wants the improper conduct of the prosecutor, Advocate Billy Downer in this case, to be regarded as sort of entitling him or taking away his title to be a prosecutor that is able to prosecute in this case. But most importantly, he says, through that or after that finding, he wants the court to declare that they cannot use this matter against him anymore, and he has to be acquitted, something which I think is going to be very difficult.
Do you think that Billy Downer could be guilty of improper conduct?
It would depend or hinge on what he drafted when he submitted that affidavit in support of the Democratic Alliance. You must remember, Advocate Billy Downer is fully employed by the National Prosecuting Authority. If he divulges information that he comes across during the course and scope of his employment, he would need to substantiate and answer why did such confidential and crucial information land at the hands of a private individual, in fact, of a political party.
Yeah.
But most importantly, did he have permission to go and draft that particular affidavit? It would be unbecoming of a prosecutor who is exposed to a high level of information and confidential information to be able to dispose of it as they wish and not in line in terms of the NPA Act or the Code of Conduct in which they are supposed to subscribe to.
On the surface of it, does it sound strange that he was supporting that case? He is the state prosecutor, but this was the DA's challenging the dropping of charges against Zuma, so it was a case that he was already involved in, you could say.
Let's look at it two ways. Let's look at the first line of saying he may have been a person who was very frustrated, who had seen a prima facie evidence against the former state president, and he saw that his superiors, which at the end of the day, the decision of whether to prosecute or not rested with them, were not looking at the matter or in his light. So out of his frustration, he saw that the only way in which he could bring charges that he solely believes that should be answered to by the former president was to support the opposition. He may come again and plead and say, but the reason why we are here today, it is through my contribution, through my submissions, and with the help of the court. Otherwise, this matter wouldn't have seen the light of day. So, yes, I acted in a way which is maybe contrary to the Code of Conduct, but without my actions, we wouldn't be sitting here today, and there wouldn't be a case in which the former president would have had to answer.
All right, so the prosecutor will be in the dock in a sense. Now, Jacob Zuma faces 16 charges, many counts. Thales faces 4 charges, racketeering, corruption, fraud, etc. Just remind us what they are actually accused of doing in relation to the arms deal.
They're accused of receiving gratification, of being paid money so that they are able to either quash investigations or to make sure that things go their way, to put it loosely. But you must separate the two charges or the two charges that are faced with in this fashion. Let us look at the common law crime of fraud, in which one is alleged to have lied or misled a certain institution. In this case, it was the institutions such as SARS, it was institutions such as the South African Parliament, to say that during that time, there were certain amounts that were not disclosed. Now, that is important because in the affidavit that has been filed by the former president, he does state that time and again he would receive some sort of support from Mr. Sheikh. Now, the question would be, Did he declare those in Parliament? Did he declare those in terms of his income tax return? Were they tax deductible? If so, or if he didn't, that means indeed the element of fraud or the crime of fraud is committed. And then you looked at the legislative crimes, which is the contravention of the old and the new Corruption Act, and also an act called POCA, which is the Prevention of Organized Crime Act. Now, with those ones, or the significance with them is that they carry a minimum sentence of 15 years if you are found guilty. So for each count in which it was read to the former president today, if he is found guilty, the minimum sentence that he can be fined starts from 15 years going up on each one, unless he can come and tell the court that I have these compelling circumstances that you must regard if you find me guilty.
Very quickly, we're running out of time, but the issue is, were these payments from Sheikh just help out for the former president, then an MEC, or were they bribes from Thales via Sheikh? Will it ignite the whole issue of BEE, do you think? Because Thales is saying we had to have a BEE partner. That is how you do business in South Africa. He was our legitimate BEE partner.
You've put it correctly, because that's the question that he has to answer, to say were there bribes or were instances where a friend was helping a friend out. If were instances where a friend is helping another one out, why didn't you declare them? Why didn't you declare them at SARS? Why did you declare them at your employer, which is the South African Parliament? So that's the crux of the question, and that's what this whole case is going to hinge upon.
All right, thank you very much. Great legal analysis from Mpumelelo Zikalala. All right, suspended ANC Secretary General Esma Khashule says he's not worried about facing more charges from his party. The legally and politically embattled